Okay, when you hear the name Nintendo, you probably think of Mario, right? Or maybe Zelda or the Switch. But the real story of how Nintendo became the gaming giant we know today is, well, it's way stranger than you'd think. It's this wild story of failure, some really unlikely inspiration, and a complete reinvention that basically changed entertainment forever. So let's just start with this question. What on earth could a taxi service, a love hotel, and Super Mario possibly have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, but the answer is a single company, Nintendo. To figure out how we get from one to the other, we've got to go way, way back. You see, long before there were any pixels or D-pads, Nintendo's entire world was made of paper and ink. The company was founded all the way back in 1889. The founder was a man named Fusajiro Yamauchi. And no, he wasn't some kind of tech visionary. He was an artisan, a craftsman. For the better part of a century, we're talking over 70 years, Nintendo's whole business was crafting these beautiful handmade Japanese playing cards. They're called Hanafuda. And they were the best at it, the #1 manufacturer in all of Japan. It was a stable, respectable business, but, its future was pretty limited. And that limited future? Well, it turned into a massive problem. By the middle of the 20th century, that old business model just wasn't cutting it anymore. The company found itself staring right into the abyss. This whole period was just chaos for Nintendo. The playing card market was shrinking fast, and the president at the time, Hiroshi Yamauchi, knew he had to diversify or the company would die. So he started throwing everything at the wall, just hoping something would stick. A little spoiler alert for you, almost nothing did. And the failures were spectacular. I mean, he launched a taxi company called Daya. That flopped. He tried his hand at a chain of love hotels. And yes, you heard that right. That didn't work out either. He even got into instant rice and vacuum cleaners. Every single one was a financial disaster, pushing the company closer and closer to going completely bankrupt. So Nintendo was absolutely desperate. But its salvation didn't come from some brilliant corporate strategy session. Nope. It came from a bored factory worker with a pretty clever idea. This is the guy who changed everything, Gunpei Yokoi. Now remember, his job wasn't to invent cool new products. His job was just to keep the machines that made the playing cards running. But in his spare time, he liked to tinker. One day, President Yamauchi walks by and sees this little contraption Yokoi had built just for fun out of spare parts. It was a simple, extendable grabbing claw. Yamauchi saw it and told him, turn that into a real product. They called it the Ultra Hand, and it was a massive, runaway hit. It sold over 1 million units. This one simple toy, this was the turning point. It proved to Yamauchi that the future wasn't in taxis or rice, it was in entertainment. He immediately pulled Yokoi off the factory floor and put him in charge of a brand new research and development department. Just like that, the company had found its new direction. But the success of the Ultra Hand wasn't just some lucky break. It actually gave birth to a core philosophy, a kind of secret sauce that would define Nintendo for decades. And this is the key to understanding Nintendo. Their genius wasn't about inventing the newest, fastest, most cutting-edge technology out there. Actually, it was the complete opposite. They came up with this amazing concept, lateral thinking with withered technology. The whole idea is to take older, cheaper, withered tech, the stuff everyone else has already moved on from, and find a new, fun, creative way to use it. This strategy slashed their risks and their costs, which let them experiment and focus on one thing and one thing only, creating fun. So, with this new playbook in hand, Nintendo began its steady climb from being just a simple toy maker to becoming the absolute king of video games. And the progression was just incredibly fast. It all starts with the Ultra Hand in '66. Just over a decade later, they jump into the home console market. Then in 1980, Gunpei Yokoi, our guy from the factory floor, creates the Game & Watch handhelds using cheap calculator screen technology. A perfect example of that withered tech philosophy, right? They sold over 43 million of them. The very next year, Donkey Kong introduces the world to a certain plumber you might know. And by 1983, they released the Famicom in Japan, which of course would become the NES and single-handedly save the entire video game industry after the Great Crash. So after hearing this incredible story, what's the big takeaway here? Because it's not just about video games. It's really a masterclass in how to completely reinvent a business. We can really boil it down to a 3-step formula. First, you have to embrace diversification. You can't be afraid to explore, even if it means failing a few times. Remember those love hotels? Second, innovate with old tech. You don't always need the latest and greatest gadget to make something amazing. And finally, and this is maybe the most important one, cultivate your internal talent. That one decision to empower a factory engineer, Gunpei Yokoi, was probably the single most important choice Nintendo ever made. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Nintendo built an entire empire by finding new life in old, forgotten technology. It really makes you wonder, what seemingly outdated tech is just sitting around us right now, waiting for the right person to come along and see it in a completely new way?
Subscribe for more content.